All members will please come to the chamber and take your seats. All members. All members, please come to the floor. The hour convening having arrived, all members will please take their seats. Mr. Clerk, will you ring the bell? We're going to have the morning roll call. Well, in this case, we're going to have the afternoon roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber. Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machines? Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machines. Doorkeepers, will you please close the doors and keep them closed? As is our custom, we will begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this afternoon, once again, will be introduced by the lady from the 77th House District, Representative Rhonda Burnell. Representative Burnell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon. It is my honor to introduce our chaplain of the day, Reverend Rose Marie Green. Reverend Green's church is in my district. However, she and her husband reside in Representative Demetrius Douglas's district. She co-pastors Amazing Grace World Outreach Church with her husband, Pastor Wesley Green, who is here today. Their church was established in 1998 in Forest Park, Georgia, and recently celebrated their 25th anniversary. The Greens have been residents of Clayton County since 1982. They have 7 children, 10 grandchildren, and 9 great-grandchildren, and their children and church family are seated in the gallery. It is my pleasure to welcome my friend, Reverend Rose Marie Green.
Appreciate you being here.
Thank you. I say good afternoon to everyone. And I would like to begin by just offering my condolences to the family, to the colleagues, to the friends of Chairman Richard Smith on his passing away. It's my understanding that he was a great man and that he loved this state and he loved the work that he did. So I offer my condolences. Thank you, Speaker Burns, for inviting me to come today, and my thanks to my representative, Rhonda Burnell, and my other representative, Demetrius Douglas. And I would also like to thank other members of our Clayton County delegation coming from Clayton County, the home of the mighty Jonesboro High School Majestic Marching Cardinals, who will be performing in a Super Bowl commercial this Sunday, and who will also be performing and be a part of the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade, proudly representing the state of Georgia. That's coming from Clayton County. We are so grateful today. I bring you greetings from the Amazing Grace World Outreach Church, where Bishop Green is the pastor, my husband, and as Representative Renaud has said, many of the congregants are here with us. And I would like to start off by saying that I am a member of a special fraternity here in Georgia, and it is affectionately known as Grady Babies. I heard some chuckles, and some of you know what I mean. Grady Babies, we're the ones that were born in Grady Hospital. And so many years ago, I was born about a mile from here in Grady Hospital. I am a Grady baby. I've never lived more than 30 miles from where I was born, a 30-mile radius, and that's because I love it here. I love Georgia. And so I consider it a special honor and privilege. I don't take it lightly to be standing here before you today in this distinguished chamber with you wonderful servants of this great state. So thank you. Thank you so much. Today we're going to listen in on a private conversation. Listen in just a little bit. On a private conversation that Jesus had with his disciples just a few days before he was crucified. This is not a scripted parable. Actually, it's a sneak preview of things ahead, thousands of years ahead. And so we're going to just take a little listen as to what Jesus was saying to them. And I'm not going to read everything, but he started out, this is coming out of St. Matthew, the Gospel, according to St. Matthew, the 25th chapter. You're all, I'm sure, familiar with it. But he started out talking with his disciples about the return of the king. And he gave special categories of people. If those people had been shown special kindness and compassion, then the king would be very satisfied with that, and that he would commend them at that time. And the categories were those that are hungry, those that are thirsty, those that are naked, those that are sick, those that are hungry, thirsty, naked, sick, those that are homeless, 5 on this hand. But then at the end, there was another one that was added, and that was those that were in prison. Hungry, thirsty, naked, homeless, sick, and then over here on this other hand, in prison, almost clandestinely coming into that group. Because we talk a lot about the hungry, the thirsty, the naked, the homeless, the sick. But today I want to talk a little bit about the ministry that my husband and I have been involved in, something that's very dear to my heart, and that is the prison ministry. And I'm not going to talk directly about that, but let's see what Jesus had to say. At that time, he told them that there would be some commendations given when he returned, special commendations to those who showed compassion to that group. And the ones that were listening to him heard him explain that at that time the righteous would be commended. They would be commended. And they were told, when you've done this for the least of these, my brethren, you've done it as unto me. That's how Jesus responded when he was asked a question. When the question was asked to the king, how in the world, when did we see you hungry? When did we see you naked? When did we see you thirsty? When did we see you homeless? When did we see you in prison? He said, the king would say at that time, when you done it unto the least of these, my brethren, you've done it to me. You've done it to me. And I want us to remember that you've done it to me. And so Jesus seemed to have a special compassion, a special connection with those who were in prison. And 3 days after this conversation, of course, he was crucified. But the demonstration of his connection, while he was hanging on the cross, actually on death row, between 2 convicts, he spent his last breath, he spent his last times in his earth suit on this planet, ministering to a fellow inmate. Why? Because we call him the thief on the cross, but I believe Jesus would call him the least of these, my brethren. In addition to that, if we fast forward about 30 years, then we know that when he arrested a young man by the name of Saul, converted him to Paul, and gave him an assignment by the Holy Spirit to write 2/3 of the New Testament, and we all know and understand that 4 of those epistles were written in prison. Ephesians, Colossians, Philippians, Philemon, these were actually written while Paul was incarcerated. Let's go just a little bit further, and Jesus decided to make a personal, long-distance inmate visitation to his beloved disciple John, all the way from heaven to the Isle of Patmos, in order to dictate to him the book of Revelation. He was in exile. He was incarcerated at that time. And not only that, but right here in our beloved Atlanta, a place that I love, right here, a native son of this community, Dr. Martin Luther King, when he scripted one of the most famous letters that's ever been written, a great piece of literature, a great motivation, something that actually helped to change the fabric of this nation. He was not sitting in the comfort of his office over at Ebenezer, where he was the co-pastor with his father, Daddy King. He wasn't writing on parchment, sitting at a mahogany desk. No, he was sitting in a jail cell 150 miles from here in Birmingham, Alabama. Yeah, some great things can happen under the anointing of the incarcerated in the jail cell. Some great things can happen. And so what I want to I want to share with you just a little, I think it had a very good ending, a little story that occurred with me and my team of ladies when we were going out ministering to those in jail. This was about 20 years ago. Now let's keep in mind, and I'm going to read this, and the king shall answer and say unto them, verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it, Isaiah 25:40, unto one of the least of these my brethren, you have done it unto me. About 20 years ago, we were ministering in a jail, a local jail. And there was a lady there in our service who was obviously just distraught throughout the whole service. Afterwards, she came down to ask for special prayer. And so when I asked her, okay, what is it, dear? What's bothering you so much? Then I will make this very brief, but what she ended up saying was that she had been there for some months. During that time, she had a child. That child was taken from her hours after he was delivered and taken into foster care. And she knew that the next week she was about to be shipped out to the place that she would serve her prison term. And this is what she said. She said, I haven't seen my baby since the day that he was born. She said, if you would just pray for him, that he would be in a loving family. And if you would just, she said, I wish there was some way that I could just see my baby one more time. I said, okay, tell me your baby's name. We'll pray right now. She said, his name is Jamal. I said, okay, how old is Jamal? He's 3 months old. Wait a minute, where was Jamal born? He was born at Southern Regional. When was his birthday? She told me his birthday. I said, hold up. Your baby is the youngest, the newest member of our congregation. The foster mother that is taking care of your baby right now is a member of our church. And absolutely, your baby is being loved. Absolutely, he's being taken care of. And not only that, I'm going to arrange for you to see him. And so the next week when she had to come into the courtroom, we had the foster mother to come into the back of the chambers, just into the back, in a very unobtrusive way. When the young lady came out and took her seat, I had her to just hold the baby up, just hold him up, so that she could see her baby. She turned around, she looked at the baby, She did a heart like that. What did I do? That was my it. You see, when you do it unto these, the least of these, my brethren, you're doing it as unto me. That was my it. That was the it of the ladies who were with me, because that's what we were able to do at that time. That's what God had put within my purview to do at that time. And in concluding, I'd like to just tell you about one other situation, just one other situation. A young man grew up in a large extended family in a Christian home. He was homeschooled. His idea of having fun was going on mission trips with his father as far away as Kenya, Africa. He was homeschooled, so he finished high school early at the age of 16. He went on to college. In his third year, he was accused of a horrendous crime. At trial, he was actually acquitted, and he was allowed to go free. He was found innocent of the charges, and that is a good thing. But the bad thing is that he was incarcerated for 549 days waiting for a trial. 549 days waiting for a trial. He went home to be with his family, and after that, 10 months later, this young man, his name is Paul Costley, you can Google him. This young man, not a young man from the ghetto, but a white kid in Carrollton, Georgia, committed suicide. Just 3 years earlier, he had everything to live for. And now, because of the change that took place in those 549 days, suddenly his whole life changed. What am I saying? What I'm saying is that somebody missed their it. Either a person missed the it or a system missed the it. Because Paul ought to be here with us today. This is what happens when we miss the it. And so I want to leave you today and to say to you, you're in a unique position. You don't travel to the jails and the prisons like I do, like my husband does, like some of the other people who are part of our team. You don't. Maybe you don't. Maybe many of you don't do that. But you do what you do. I don't do what you do. You do your it. But as you're remembering those, as you're remembering the hungry, the thirsty, the naked, the sick, keep forgetting that last one. The hungry, the thirsty, the naked, the sick, and the homeless. Hallelujah. Thank you, Pastor Green. And the homeless. Don't forget about this hand over here. It's a prison. Don't forget about that. Amen? Do your it. Do your it. And do it from your heart. And so I'm going to pray. If you will stand with me, please. I thank you so much for your attention. And I thank you for this great opportunity. Father God, we're so grateful to be here today, to be a part of this great assembly. I thank you, Lord God, for the decisions that are made in this house. I thank you, God, for how you're advancing this great state. And Lord, as we all go about doing our daily duties, let us be mindful of those who you categorize as the least of these. We didn't do it, you did it. And included in that number are those who are in prison. And then, Lord, your word says in Psalm, the 102nd division of Psalm, verse 19, for he has looked down from the height of his sanctuary. From heaven did the Lord behold the earth, to hear the groaning of the prisoner. And so, Lord God, I thank you right now for hearing the groans. I thank you for the ears being open and the hearts being receptive to doing your will. In Jesus' name, amen. Won't you please say the pledge to the flag with me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, Bishop, for being here. Doorkeepers, you may unlock the doors. Members, you may join the pastor in the South Annie room and greet her and have a photo if you'd like. Members, our doctor of the day today is brought to us by Chairman Trey Rhodes of the 124th House District, and that's Dr. Mason Florence. Dr. Florence is downstairs in the health cottage, and if you need him, you may go down and see Dr. Florence. Okay, if the House will come to order. House will come to order. Members will please find their seats. Take these important discussions out into the ante room. Members will please take your seats. Chair recognizes Chairman Tarvin, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits. Chairman Tarvin.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Information and Audits has read the journal from the previous legislative day and found it to be correct. And on another note, always remember, you really never fail until you quit trying.
Profound and true on another note, no doubt about that. Thank you, Chairman Tarvin. Chairman Tarvin, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to dispense with the reading of the journal? Chair hears none. The reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? Chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day?
Representative, illustration of the 104th moves finally be established as the order of business during the first part of the period. Unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of House bills and resolutions. Second reading of bills and resolutions. Reports of standing committees. First reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions. Morning orders.
Is there an objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions. Mr. Clerk, will you read?
House Bill 1113, represented by Representative Reeves of the 99th, Gunther of the 8th, Smith of the 18th, Leverett of the 123rd, Silcox of the 53rd, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 18 and Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to state printing and documents.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 1114 by Representative Wade of the 9th, Gamble of the 15th, Hong of the 103rd, McDonald of the 26th, Jones of the 25th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Title 33 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to insurance.
Insurance.
House Bill 1115 by Representative Williams of the 148th, Kelly of the 16th, Crowe of the 118th, Blackman of the 146th, Horner of the 3rd, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 8 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to sales and use taxes.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 1116 by Representative Buckner of the 137th, Stevens of the 164th, Houston of the 170th, Blackman of the 146th, Holcomb of the 81st. Bill being titled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 7 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to imposition rate computation exemptions and credits relative to income taxes.
Ways and
House
Means.
Bill 1117 by Representative Hitchens of the 161st, Lumpson of the 12th, Collins of the 71st, Vance of the 133rd, Neal of the 79th. Bill be titled an act to amend Code Section 35.8.8 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to requirements for appointment or certification of persons as peace officers.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
House Bill 1118 by Representative Draper of the 90th, Gilliard of the 162nd, Beverly of the 143rd, Miller of the 62nd, Powell of the 33rd. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to elections and primaries generally.
Judiciary Non-Civil.
House Bill 1119 by Representative Carson of the 46th and Hilton of the 48th. The bill be titled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 1 of Chapter 8 of Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions relative to motor vehicle equipment and inspection.
Motor Vehicles.
House Bill 1120 by Representative Taylor, 173rd, Earhart of the 36th, Mathiak of the 74th, Smith of the 70th, Thomas of the 21st, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Code Section 48.5.299 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to ascertainment of taxable property.
Ways and
House
Means.
Bill 1121 by Representative Ballard of the 147th, Washburn of the 144th, Powell of the 33rd, New of the 64th, Saints of the 180th. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 60 of Title 36 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions applicable to counties and municipal corporations.
Governmental
House
Affairs.
Bill 1122 by Representative Hilton of the 48th, Jones of the 47th, Dubnik of the 29th, Ballard of the 147th, Medina of the 110th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 2, Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to secondary and elementary education.
Education.
House Bill 1123 by Representative Baird of the 24th, Cooper of the 45th, Silcox of the 53rd, Oliver of the 82nd. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 30 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to protection of disabled adults and elderly persons.
Judiciary Non-Civil.
House Bill 1124 by Representative Martin of the 49th, Hilton of the 48th, Jones of the 47th, Silcox of the 53rd, and Gaines of the 120th. Bill be titled an act to amend Subpart 2A of Part 3 of Article 7 of Chapter 3 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to needs-based financial aid program.
Higher Education.
House Bill 1125 by Representative Cooper of the 45th, Carpenter of the 4th, Daniel of the 117th, Hilton of the 48th, and Smith of the 18th. Bill be titled an act to amend Title 34 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to labor and industrial relations.
Industry and Labor.
House Bill 1126 by Representative Perkle, 169th, Jaspers of the 11th, Gullett of the 19th, Dickey of the 145th, Collins of the 71st. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 14 of Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to speed detection devices.
Motor Vehicles.
House Bill 1127 by Representative Perkle, 169th, Corbett of the 174th, Rhodes of the 124th, and Lott of the 131st. Bill be titled an act to amend Title 2 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to agriculture.
Agriculture and Consumer Affairs.
House Bill 1128 by Representative Lott of the 131st, Hagan of the 156th, New of the 64th, Houston of the 170th, Ballard of the 147th, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Title 1 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions so as to enact the Georgia Women's Bill of Rights.
Judiciary.
House Bill 1129 by Representative Holcomb of the 81st and Werkheiser of the 157th. The bill being titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 3 of Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating the responsibility relative to defenses to criminal prosecutions.
Judiciary non-civil.
House Bill 1130 by Representative Holcomb of the 81st, Werkheiser of the 157th. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 3, Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to responsibility relative to crimes and offenses.
Judiciary non-civil.
House Bill 1131 by Representative Townsend of the 179th, Ballard of the 147th, Saints of the 180th, Glaze of the 67th, Vance of the 133rd, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Part 3 of Article 16 of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to health of students in elementary and secondary education.
Education.
House Bill 1132 by Representative Maynard of the 56th, Jackson of the 128th, Lim of the 98th. Bill be titled an act to amend Titles 8, 10, 33, and 34 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to buildings and housing.
Judiciary.
House Bill 1133 by Representative Maynard of the 56th and Lim of the 98th. Bill be titled an act to amend Part 7 of Article 6 of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to staff development and under the Quality Basic Education Act.
Education.
House Bill 1134 by Representative Stevens of the 164th, Saints of the 180th, and Buckner of the 137th. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 7 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the imposition rate computation exemptions and credits relative to income taxes.
Ways and Means.
House Resolution 979 by Representative Draper of the 90th, Mitchell of the 88th, Renner of the 85th, Crawford of the 84th, and Bennett of the 94th. A resolution recognizing Reverend Dr. William E. Flippin Sr., dedicating a bridge in his honor.
Transportation.
Senate Bill 333 by Senator Dixon of the 45th and Still of the 48th. Bill be entitled Act to incorporate the city of Mulberry.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
Senate Bill 377 by Senator Tillery of the 19th, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Burns of the 23rd, Payne of the 54th, Strickland of the 17th, and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Titles 15 and 49 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to courts and social services.
Public and Community Health.
Senate Bill 386 by Senator Dixon of the 45th, Hatchett of the 50th, Butler of the 55th, Beach of the 21st, Mallow of the 2nd, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to state government.
Higher Education.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 1094 by Representative Vance of the 133rd and Jackson of the 128th, the bill to amend an act creating a Board of Commissioners of Baldwin County. House Bill 1095 by Representative Vance of the 133rd and Jackson of the 128th, a bill to create a Board of Elections and Registration for Baldwin County. House Bill 1096 by Representative Washburn of the 144th, Werkheiser of the 157th, Evans of the 89th, and Powell of the 33rd, a bill relating to general provisions, professions, and businesses. House Bill 1097 by Representative Vance of the 133rd, Mathis of the 149th, Carpenter of the 4th, Hitchens of the 161st, Lumsden of the 12th, a bill relating to driver education training courses. House Bill 1098 by Representative Hawkins of the 27th, Stevens of the 164th, Newton of the 127th, Jackson of the 128th, Townsend of the 179th, a bill relating to Medicare supplement insurance. House Bill 1099 by Representative Huddleston of the 72nd, Burchett of the 176th, Cannon of the 172nd, Camp of the 135th, Rhodes of the 124th, a bill relating to general provisions relative to criminal trespass, damage to property. House Bill 1100 by Representative New of the 64th, Corbett of the 174th, Prince of the 132nd, Smith of the 138th, McLean of the 109th, and others, a bill relating to motor vehicles and traffic. House Bill 1101 by Representative Maynard of the 56th, Camp of the 135th, Hagan of the 156th, Cox of the 28th, Scoggins of the 14th, and others, a bill relating to the Fair Business Practices Act of 1975. House Bill 1102 by Representative Montana of the 17th, Smith of the 18th, Leverett of the 123rd, Daniel of the 117th, Jaspers of the 11th, and others, a bill relating to criminal extradition. House Bill 1103 by Representative Galliard of the 162nd, Williams of the 168th, Reese of the 140th, Gladney of the 130th, a bill relating to income taxes. House Bill 1104 by Representative Crawford of the 84th, Hughley of the 141st, McLean of the 109th, Douglas of the 78th, Cox of the 28th, a bill to amend the Quality Basic Education Act. House Bill 1105 by Representative Petrie of the 166th, Collins of the 71st, Bonner of the 73rd, Donahue of the 31st, Barton of the 5th, and others, a bill relating to penal institutions. House Bill 1106 by Representative Petrie of the 166th, Stevens of the 164th, Jackson of the 165th, Gilliard of the 162nd, Hitchens of the 161st. Bill to authorize the municipal court of the city of Tybee Island to charge a technology fee. House Bill 1107 by Representative Maynard of the 56th, Jones of the 25th, Mitchell of the 88th, Sains of the 180th, Daniel of the 117th. A bill relating to general provisions relative to the rights and privilege of patients and their representatives regarding examination and treatment for mental illness. House Bill 1108 by Representative Fry of the 122nd, Gaines of the 120th, Reeves of the 99th, Washburn of the 144th, Hawley of the 116th, and others. A bill relating to general provisions relative to housing authorities. House Bill 1109 by Representative Crawford of the 84th, Oliver of the 82nd, Evans of the 57th, Miller of the 62nd, Willis of the 55th, and others. A bill relating to tolling of limitations. House Bill 1110 by Representative Crawford of the 84th, Oliver of the 82nd, Kendrick of the 95th, Miller of the 62nd, Willis of the 55th, and others. A bill relating to offense of violating family violence order and penalty. House Bill 1111 by Representative Crawford of the 84th, Owl of the 50th, Miller of the 62nd, Oliver of the 82nd, Willis of the 55th, and others. A bill relating to carrying and possession of firearms. House Bill 1112 by Representative Leverett of the 123rd, LaHood of the 175th, Barrett of the 24th, Anderson of the 10th, Warner of the 3rd, and others. A bill relating to the elections and primaries generally. House Resolution 947 by Representative Gilliard of the 162nd, Stevens of the 164th, Jackson of the 165th, Westbrook of the 163rd. Resolution designating the Weeping Time Cultural Heritage Corridor as an official cultural and historic corridor in Georgia. Senate Bill 105 by Senator Walker the 3rd of the 20th, Robertson of the 29th, and Envarte of the 31st, Goodman of the 8th, Anderson of the 24th, and others. A bill relating to retirement benefits payable upon normal, early, or delayed retirement from the public school employees retirement system. Senate Bill 328 by Senator Alberts of the 56th and Robertson of the 29th. The bill relating to retirement and pensions. Senate Bill 335 by Senator Alberts of the 56th, Robertson of the 29th, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Strickland of the 17th, Dixon of the 45th, and others. A bill relating to incest. Senate Bill 369 by Senator Burns of the 23rd, Alberts of the 56th, Robertson of the 29th, Parent of the 42nd, Summers of the 13th, and others. A bill relating to registration and licensing of motor vehicles. Through second readers.
Can have a little order in the House. Ready, Mr. Clerk? Reports of standing committees the clerk will read.
Representative Matt Hatchett, the 155th District Chairman of the Committee on Appropriations, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, Committee on Appropriations has had under its consideration following bill of the House. Has instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 915, do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Matt Hatchett of the 155th District Chairman. Representative Chris Irwin of the 32nd District Chairman on Committee on Education submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, Committee on Education has had under its considerations following bills of the House. Has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 941, do pass by substitute. House Bill 987, do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Chris Irwin of the 32nd District Chairman. Representative Tyler Paul Smith of the 18th District Chairman on Committee on Judiciary Non-Civil submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Judiciary Non-Civil has had under its consideration following bills of the House. Has instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendation. House Bill 909 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 1033 do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Tyler Paul Smith of the 18th District Chairman. Representative Rick Jaspers, the 11th District Chairman of the Committee on Transportation, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Transportation has had under its consideration the following bills of the House and instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 516 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 617 do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Rick Jaspers, the 11th District Chairman. That completes the reading of the reports of standing committees.
All right, members, huddle out in the, and call the signals out in the ante room. Make the play out there. Need everyone's attention. If members will please take their seats, we're getting ready to have some members bring some morning orders in the afternoon and recognize some very important guests in the gallery. Representative Gladney and the Augusta delegation. Representative Gladney. Here she comes. Augusta delegation, join us down at the well. Members, we're going to have a maximum of 2 minutes. Very much maximum. If you can do it shorter period than that, you will gain great favor with the speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning. Introducing Augusta's very own radio hostess with the mostest, with her own very own nonprofit organization, the Sisters Only Club. Will you please stand, ladies? Founded by Miss Cher Best of iHeartMedia. This multimedia talented speaker, writer, and community advocate uses her finesse as the radio voice of the community on the afternoon ride out show and the morning show as a pivot to express her passion to help the Augusta community. The SOC's roster includes over 40 strong professional women, many of them joining her today with a focus to visit us at the Capitol to address community issues that further their efforts to develop teams, empower women, and promote overall health, wellness, and quality of life. Her access to the community on 93.3 KISS FM and on the Throwback 105.5 in Columbia, South Carolina gives us plenty to groove to as we enjoy our family and friends. But don't get it twisted. This clever lady is way more than a fast-talking disc jockey. She, in her Sisters Only group, does regular community service, volunteer work, she hosts an annual scholarship ball, a Pramapalooza giveaway, a Christmas toy giveaway, and the renowned Shero Awards to honor women of valor throughout her community. On behalf of the Augusta delegation, thank you for visiting the People's House today.
Welcome. Glad to have you. Members, if you will join with me in recognizing a gentleman who has spent many years in this house. How many years? 16 years, and has been our pastor, chaplain many times. Served as Ethics Committee Chair. Our very own Randy Nix, Representative Randy Nix. Good to have you back. Chairman Blackman, Chairman Dickey, Leader Beverly, Representative Ballard, Chairman Williams, Noel Williams. Y'all are recognized for a morning order in the afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are excited today to have visitors from the Perry Area Chamber of Commerce, their youth leadership and adult leadership classes. Won't you help us welcome them to the People's House? Would y'all stand and be recognized? Very proud. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair Lady Penny Houston is recognized for a morning order in the afternoon. Chair Lady, it's good to see you back.
It's good to be back. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is my honor to recognize Heather Bracewell, a South Georgia landowner who has just been awarded one of the nation's highest honors for her commitment to the sustainability of managed trees. Ms. Bracewell of Berrien County was just named the 2023 National Tree Farmer of the Year by the American Tree Services. Ms. Bracewell was recognized for her stewardship with the Gaskins estate. And one thing about the Gaskins estate, it has been in her family for almost 200 years, and she told me today in 2026 will be it was formed in 1826, and it's been in her family since 1826. And she will be honored by the tree farmers later on in an event in March. But I would also like to say thank you to Ms. Bracewell for she established the Gaskins Forest Education Center. And by hosting classes, workshops, and field trips, she's given hundreds of Georgia's boys and girls the opportunity to visit an area with the abundance of natural wildlife in her farm. Thank you, and thank you for your commitment to forestry, and congratulations. And I'll ask her to stand if she will. Thank you.
Wow, that's awesome.
And if you're ever in South Georgia, we'd be glad to show you the Gaskins Education Center. Come on down.
Thank you for helping individuals of our state to understand forestry and our wildlife, and congratulations on National Tree Farming Year. That's awesome. Thank you. Thanks for being with us. Representative Joseph Gullett. Representative Joseph Gullett, there he is, right there. Representative Gullett's recognized, and friends. Wait a minute, you have friends. I didn't know you had any friends, but I guess you do. I didn't think he had that many. He must have paid them. Got friends. Representative Gullett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today we want to extend a heartfelt welcome to our gallant firefighters here on Firefighters Recognition Day. Let it be known that your efforts and sacrifices are recognized and deeply appreciated by the members of this House and by the people of Georgia. We honor and commend each of you for going above and beyond the call of duty. Let this day serve as a testament to your outstanding service and a reminder of our collective gratitude for your heroic contributions to our state. If you would, please stand. Thank you for your bravery. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your dedication to our communities and for our state. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Representative Gullett. Thank you for what you gentlemen do. Representative Bennett. Representative Bennett, recognized for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good afternoon, colleagues. Today, it is my privilege to recognize those in the gallery from the American Physical Therapy Association of Georgia. This morning, we had over 400 physical therapists, physical therapy assistants, and physical therapy students to be with us today. And now we have the remnants that are left for the afternoon. I'd like to ask you to stand as I indicate to my colleagues that we have over 12,000 members of the American Physical Therapy Association of Georgia here, spread all across Georgia, and perhaps some of you have had the great opportunity to receive therapy or treatment from physical therapists who serve in an array of health opportunities. So thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, won't you rise with me and recognize our physical therapist members who are with us today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to my colleagues in the gallery.
Welcome and thank you for your work. Physical therapy is important. Representative Lupton, I like this one.
Who's ready for some good news? God knows I am. I am so proud to have with us today representatives from Bagel Rescue, a nonprofit based in Brookhaven. Bagel Rescue is a hunger relief food rescue specifically for bagels. Bagel Rescue has their goal is to reduce food waste and support hunger relief from a chance discovery of bagel waste by a young boy, Reese Steiglitz, who was curious and dared to ask the right questions. His mom, Erin Steiglitz, turned that discovery into a way to support the community by creating an epic web of goodness and offering those suffering from food insecurity a bite of dignity. They have rescued more than 1.4 million bagels. They have made over 10,000 bagel deliveries. They have partnered with over 100 agencies in 9 counties in Metro Atlanta. This is a tremendous work. Please join me in recognizing Aaron Rees and Graham Steiglitz, board member Jen Bala, and volunteers Shiva Waterman and Vijay Desai from Bagel Rescue. Thank you so much for coming to the People's House today.
Bagel Rescue. Welcome to the House. We're glad to have you here. Representative Hilton is recognized for an order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This morning we had a few hundred Girl Scouts down here at the Capitol. It was a little bit of a fire hazard. I was proud to have about 200 of them from my district, and we've got a few remaining here. Girl Scout Troop 17428, would you please stand and be recognized by the members of this body? Please recognize the best Girl Scout troop in Georgia right there. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thanks for hanging around, ladies. We appreciate y'all being here. Thanks for your patience. Representative Dewey McLean and the Gwinnett delegation is recognized for an order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know it's 21 members in the House delegation. I guess we're come on, Billy.
Don't get past that line. Representative McLean, we're in the 2-minute warning and the clock is running.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, colleagues. The Gwinnett delegation would like to welcome the Gwinnett Chamber of Commerce to the People's House. I hope you all enjoyed your M&Ms that's on your desk because they came from the Chamber. So I want to say thank you all very much. The Gwinnett Chamber was established in 1947 and today has over 2,000 members, 22,000 businesses, 10,000 sole proprietors, and Gwinnett has nearly 600 international businesses. So today, the Chamber has earned a 5-star accreditation from the United States Chamber of Commerce, the highest designation achievable in the chamber industry. Also on August 1st, 2023, the Chamber was awarded the Association of Chamber of Commerce Executive Chamber of the Year designation, the first time the Chamber has received this honor. So I just want you all to know that our Chamber is that way. What I would like to, who we got today with us is, we have the CEO and the President, Nick Messino is in, if Nick will stand up. We have the Board Chairman, Lanier Levitt. There he is, our new Board Chairman, thank you. And then we got plenty of the businesses, Jackson AMC, all of y'all, Jackson AMC. We have Pecan, Georgia, Exodus Company, Kaiser Permanente, Georgia Power, Porter Steel, Cold Steel rather. And what can I say? They're just to name a few. Thank you all for coming to the People's House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And we do have a resolution for you all. If you all would come on down and get a few pictures. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Gwinnett Chamber. We appreciate the good work you do representing the community. And you as well, representatives and Representative McLean. Representative Park Cannon is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So today I'm excited to announce that the Morehouse School of Medicine Physician Assistant Program is in the building. You will see them in their lovely white coats if you'll stand up. They are headed up by Dr. Pangela Dawson here in the fluffy arms. Fabulous women leading this amazing. It's the newest professional graduate program at Morehouse School of Medicine. It has its accreditation continued status, meaning it has been in compliance. They focus on rural and urban service so they can serve your districts. They focus on workforce diversity and expanded scope of practice. So as they do this work, as you might see doctors out here doing this work, physician assistants can do almost all of those things. Of course, we're working on that, but want to thank you for your patient-centered care, and thank you for Wayne Martin for having you here today. Congratulations. Thank y'all. Appreciate it. Yep.
Hey, we appreciate y'all. Good luck to you. Good to have y'all here today. We appreciate what you're doing and what you will do for the people of our state. Thank you. Representative John Carson, Chairman Carson is recognized.
Folks, I want you to help me welcome the entire senior class from Fellowship Christian School. It's a school based up in Roswell. I think it's part of Chairman Martin's district, but it's a wonderful school. It's about 1,300 total. I think the entire senior class is down here. Their high school football team went 10-3, lost in the state playoffs to Pierce County. I got to talk to Representative Meeks about that. These are some really smart kids with numerous scholarships. Will you help me welcome them to the People's House? Fellowship Christian School. Stand up, guys.
Over to the left. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Good to have y'all in the People's House. Sounds like you had a good year. So congratulations. Study hard. That completes our morning orders. Members, we're moving on to the rules calendar. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to HB 385?
HB 385 by Representative Thomas, the 21st, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Title 47 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to retirement and pensions so as to add appropriate references to the United States Space Force. This bill having referred to the Committee on Retirement, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Representative Brad Thomas is recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I'm here to present House Bill 385, LC 432628. This bill adds references to the Space Force and other branch reserves to ensure they have the same credible time and service accounted for in the same manner that all the other already recognized military services do. With that, I'll yield for questions.
Gentleman has no questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With that, I yield well, and go Navy.
No, you may have some now. You got probably some negative votes right now with that comment, but the gentleman's yielded the well. Is there an objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? So what that bell means. All members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 385. The yeas were 160. The nays were 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 456?
House Bill 456 by Representative Gunner of the 8th, Lumsden of the 12th, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 32 of Title 36 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to general provisions regarding municipal courts so as to increase the term for municipal court judges from 1 to 2 years unless provided for in a municipality's charter. This bill having referred to the Committee on Judiciary, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chairman Gunther is recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 456 gives judges a minimum of 2 years to serve. Currently, they serve 1 year or at will, or sometimes they can have contracts for longer than 2 years. But what this does, it sets the minimum term at 2 years or more, depending on what they reach an agreement on. And also, if there is a disagreement or an alleged breach of the agreement that they make with the city, there's a provision in here that allows them to get rid of the judge or fire the judge in a way. That's basically what the bill does, and I'll take any questions.
Gentleman yields for a question.
Yes.
The lady to your left, Representative Carter, is recognized from the 93rd for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Extreme left, Doreen
Does the
Carter.
gentleman yield?
I yield.
With proposing a bill that would tie municipalities into two-year contracts, historically, you couldn't bind over another government entity, right?
I understand.
So how will this affect the municipality's ability to not be tied into a contract if there's a new group of legislators, council people coming in?
I believe that the council members' terms in at least all the cities I have in my district are 4 years. This is a minimum 2-year, and so if they do a 2-year, they shouldn't cross over into another.
Does the gentleman further yield?
I'll yield, yes.
You're absolutely correct, but just in the instance in that year that you have a larger number that is turning over, then you're binding a new council. So if you have 3 leaving, a new council coming in, so is there an opportunity if that contract needs to have one, or are all municipalities now going to be bound to 2-year contracts?
I'm sure there's a way that can be worked around that,
Okay.
but this bill itself does not directly deal with what you're asking about.
Thank you.
Chairman Collins has a question if the gentleman will yield.
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
You may ask a question.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Does the gentleman yield?
I yield.
It's been my experience, is it not true, that a lot of these municipal governments have staggered terms? For instance, the city that I used to be the mayor of, we had 2-year terms for council member, 4-year terms, but it was staggered. Every 2 years, there was a majority of the council or the mayor was elected. Is that not true?
That's true. Yes, sir.
Also, is it not true in this bill, as you pointed out when you were presenting the bill, that there's also a mechanism to which the city can break that agreement and part ways with the judge? Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you for bringing this bill.
Yes, sir.
Boy, you did a good job. The gentleman, you have no more questions.
I yield the will and ask for your favorable consideration.
Is there an objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there an objection, any objection to adopting the committee substitute? Chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Did I hear a no? All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of the bill. The yeas on House Bill 456, yeas are 161, the nays are 2. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Members, we have a conference committee report that we presented. Let's see. Okay, Representative Gaines is recognized for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House agree to the Committee of Conference report on SB 63.
Mr. Clerk, will you read the conference committee report?
Committee of Conference on Senate Bill 63 recommends that both the Senate and the House of Representatives recede from their positions and that the attached Committee of Conference substitute to SB 63 be adopted. Respectfully submitted for the Senate, Senator Randy Robertson, the 29th, Senator John Kennedy, the 18th, Senator Steve Gooch, the 51st. For the House of Representatives, Representative Stration, the 104th, Representative Collins, the 71st, Representative Gaines of the 120th.
Chair recognizes Representative Gaines to explain, please, the Committee of Conference report on SB 63. Representative Gaines.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As Speaker mentioned, we have before us the Conference Committee report on SB 63, legislation that will protect public safety in our state. On Sine Die last year, we had many parts of this legislation before us, and we had a vigorous debate at that time. So I won't belabor the point and the details this body's already considered. But to refresh everybody's memory, this legislation will make it clear that Georgia is not going down the path of failure seen by other states and communities that have eliminated cash bail. It's been an unmitigated disaster. You've probably seen the headlines just this week of migrants in New York who attacked NYPD officers let out without bail. Now those migrants are reportedly headed to the border in an attempt to flee. It's abhorrent and unacceptable. Fortunately, Georgia law would have already required those individuals to post bail, but today we have a number of offenses where you have real victims involved and no requirement for bail. SB 63 will address that issue by adding a number of offenses to require bail. I've been reading some commentary about this bill, how they're low-level offenses. Particularly, I keep reading about marijuana. This bill does not require bail for misdemeanor marijuana. It's only for felony marijuana, which includes intent to distribute. Some of the other offenses in this bill include obstruction of a law enforcement officer, battery, theft, trafficking of persons for labor or sexual servitude, and domestic terrorism. SB 63 does not set a mandatory minimum amount of bail required. Judges will continue to have that discretion. There are countless examples across the state of very low bail amounts. I've seen examples of $1. The difference between unsecured judicial release and secured judicial release, or bond, is very significant. In Fulton County, for example, there is a 30% failure to appear rate over the last 5 years on unsecured judicial release cases. 30% of criminals not showing back up in court. Whereas in cases of secured judicial release, we're talking about 3 to 5%. These are real criminals not showing back up for court and staying on the streets. Ultimately, this legislation is about addressing repeat offenders, and it's about respecting our law enforcement officers. We've heard from countless officers that go out every day and do their job, arrest criminals, and then as soon as they get to jail, they're checking right back out. I'll share an example of where this legislation would have made a real difference to protect public safety. On April 21st, 2022, in Fulton County, Jerron Peters was arrested on 5 charges, including possession of tools for a commission of a crime, reckless driving, and criminal trespass. Each of these offenses are listed in SB 63. A judge issued him an unsecured judicial release on these charges, and he failed to appear when due back in court. Fast forward to November 6, 2023, Jerron Peters was in a vehicle that fled police and crashed into Atlanta Public Schools bus carrying students from Fickett Elementary School. Peters then fired a handgun at state troopers several times before he was eventually apprehended. This is just one case that highlights criminals being released on the offenses in this legislation, fail to appear for court, and then move on to more dangerous and violent crimes. There are many other examples I could present, but again, we've already debated this issue and I won't belabor the point. There are 2 other components of SB 63 I want to highlight. The first is addressing unaccountable bail funds that are releasing violent criminals on our streets and covering 100% of bail with cash bonds. We've seen these bail funds across the country. An example is here in Atlanta, with the domestic terrorism we've seen at the site of the new Atlanta Public Safety Training Center. In fact, the Atlanta Solidarity Fund, which has been used to release the individuals who've committed these crimes, is under indictment from the Attorney General for charity fraud. What SB 63 does is limit bail funds and other entities to 3 cash bonds per year. Once they reach that threshold, these groups need to register properly as a bondsman. This doesn't prevent a bail fund from operating. In fact, they could bail out as many folks as they want, but they need to do so under the same rules and regulations as bondsmen. The final component I want to highlight is what this legislation will do to keep illegal aliens who commit crimes in our state behind bars. Thanks to Chairman Jesse Petrie in particular for his work and leadership on this. Under current law, a bail bondsman is not held liable for an illegal alien if they are deported or removed from the country. SB 63 will keep the bail bondsman responsible for these individuals. The result will mean violent criminal illegal aliens will remain behind bars instead of being released by a bondsman. As we continue to see folks pour across our southern border, we're strengthening our state laws against criminal illegal aliens. Mr. Speaker, that's a summary of SB 63. I know you've been very generous to provide the minority party time to speak when it's not required, so I'll allow them to do so and yield the well, ask for this body's favorable consideration of SB 63.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Representative Gaines is correct. After conversation with Minority Leader and the Minority Whip, we're going to make an exception. We typically don't have a conversation and information on a conference committee report, but I'm going to make an exception today. I want both sides to be heard. The speakers that are signed up will have a total of 13 minutes, my favorite number. There will be 2 minutes for Representative Willis, 2 minutes for Representative Kennard, and 2 minutes for Representative Derrick Jackson, and Representative Miller will have the remainder. So I caution the members, when the light goes off, I'm going to keep the time, it will be subtracted from the final speaker. So honor the final speaker, Representative Tanya Miller. So hope you all stay within the time limits. At this time, I will recognize Representative Inga Willis to speak in opposition to adopting the committee report. Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, colleagues. I rise today in opposition, again, to Senate Bill 63. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free. Words from the new Colossus inscribed at the base of the Statue of Liberty, who was symbolically blindfolded because justice is blind, unbiased, and should not be based upon a person's appearance nor other outside influences. She holds scales representing the weighing of evidence on its own merit. There is also a snake at her feet representing evil. Today, juxtaposes the justice system we have versus the one we promised. Exacerbating issues for the poor is not biblical, civil, nor is it humane. Proverbs 14:31 says, "He who oppresses the poor shows utter contempt for his maker, but whoever is kind honors God." Today's stance on SB 63 will record our individual stances and our stance as a state with regard to our poor citizens. I'll leave you with this. When we think of what is most expensive to become and be in Georgia, we may think a lawyer, we may think a doctor, or even a legislator with the sacrifices that each of us make. You're wrong. The most expensive thing you can be in Georgia is poor. Mr. Speaker, I yield back the well.
Thank you, Representative. The lady has yielded back the well. Representative Kennard is recognized for up to 2 minutes. Representative Kennard.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I oppose SB 63. There are a significant number of Georgians sitting in our county jails and state prisons right now for one reason. They have no money. They are poor. Most of the folks behind bars in Georgia are poor and were convicted for low-level nonviolent offenses. When you're poor, you cannot afford your own representation. Your only option is a public defender. There are some good public defenders. We just don't have enough, and too many poor men and women fall through the cracks and inevitably get hammered by our criminal system. With proper representation, there are a lot of poor incarcerated Georgians who would not have been convicted at all, and most of the rest would not have received as harsh of a sentence. Money and the lack thereof biases our justice outcomes. I know this because of my professional experience working with the homeless. In the program I oversee, a typical client has a mental health diagnosis, a subsequent substance use disorder, and a felony background. Oh, and one more thing, they're homeless, so they're poor. It's telling how much intersection these conditions have: mental illness, substance use, poverty, and a criminal record. Where I have to spend a lot of my time as the director is leveraging my position as a state representative to pull our clients up out of the criminal justice quicksand. I'm in court almost weekly advocating for someone to come to our program in lieu of incarceration because their convictions were directly related to mental health, substance, and poverty. I'm constantly contacting probation offices from all over Georgia because of bench warrants issued for a failure to appear. I'm explaining that why they failed to appear is because they were homeless, they had no stable address to receive the notice of their court date. These folks are often faced with hefty monetary fines, so I negotiate working community service hours instead of the fine that's impossible for them to pay. The good news is my efforts work. Judges accept my recommendations for program placement, warrants are quashed, and court dates reset, and community service hours are accepted. This is one of the superpowers that I have possessed as a state rep that I've really enjoyed. I've helped a lot of people get untangled from this system during my 3 terms. But if the poor do not have an advocate with some pull to stand up for them, they will be crushed by this state's criminal system. SB 63 continues this crushing. SB 63 picks on the poor. Please vote no. Thank you.
Gentleman shielded the well. Representative Derek Jackson is recognized for up to 2 minutes to speak to the report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I rise to oppose Senate Bill 63. While I was reading this 17-page bill, I kept asking the question, what is it that Senate Bill 63 is trying to fix? But then it was crystallized when the sponsor was asked what would happen when individuals are forced to remain in custody pending trial because they are too poor to afford a bond. The sponsor said, I quote, community groups could put money together. That's interesting because there's an irony here because the text of this bill says it would be criminalized. I invite you to go to section 4, line number 192. No more than 3 cash bonds may be posted per year by any individual, corporation, organization, charity, nonprofit corporation, or group in any jurisdiction. That sounds like to me that we can possibly criminalize churches who will raise money to get their member out of jail. On line number 194, every individual, corporation, organization, charity, nonprofit corporation, and here's the other key point, colleagues, listen clearly. Any person or entity who violates any part of this paragraph will be guilty of a misdemeanor. This bill will force judges to set bail even in cases where defendants would otherwise have been released. Some of us in here have been released. Elected officials, off-duty law enforcement, lawyers, military veterans, because they realize a day in jail could cost them their job. With that, I yield the well.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Representative Miller, you have up to 7 minutes.
Good afternoon, colleagues. I rise today again to speak in opposition to Senate Bill 63, a bill that, if enacted, would undermine the historic bipartisan criminal justice reform efforts led by former Governor Nathan Deal and place in jeopardy Georgia's role as a national leader in evidence-based criminal justice reform measures that both help reduce the burgeoning cost of our criminal justice system and make our neighborhoods safer. It serves as a reminder that between 2011 and 2018, together, Republicans and Democrats implemented an array of criminal justice measures, including accountability courts And yes, cash bail reforms. We already did this, y'all. These reforms were designed to contribute to public safety by helping people turn their lives around and not recidivate, so that they can become contributing members to their communities and not simply more experienced criminals. In 2018, led by Governor Deal, the Georgia legislature unanimously passed reforms that trusted judges to release people accused of misdemeanor and other low-level offenses without posting cash bond, if it's appropriate. If it's appropriate. When someone in his own party told Governor Deal that this was not a, quote, Republican issue, he said, perhaps it's not, but it's the right thing to do, and he was right. Today, it is my hope that this chamber will also do the right thing and reject Senate Bill 63. Now, the Council on Criminal Justice Reform from 2017 to 2018, led by Chief Justice Boggs, reviewed the issues surrounding pretrial justice in Georgia. With these goals in mind, maximize public safety, minimize pretrial appearances, and maximize personal liberties. I submit to you that these three standards sought to guide us in our actions, and they should guide us in our actions today as well. The council conducted an extensive analysis of the issue of pretrial detention and cash bail, including a legal review of legislative reforms pending litigation around the country, as well as a review of current practices in Georgia. Available articles, case law and research. They heard from a wide range of groups, including the Southern Center for Human Rights, the Georgia Association of Professional Bondsmen, Georgia Municipal Association, and the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police. They did their homework, and before we cast their work aside, we should be poised to do ours as well. Just 5 short years ago, this committee was diligent and thorough in their work, noting that when it comes to meaningful criminal justice reform, the issues of pretrial justice are of paramount importance. For good reason. Pretrial detention is expensive, it can be ineffective, and it can exacerbate Georgia's two-tier criminal justice system. Let's talk about the research and the data. First, from a public safety perspective, pretrial incarceration does not make us safer. This is the data. In fact, the more time an accused person, by the way, not a convicted person, an accused person who has the presumption of innocence, the more time that they spend in pretrial detention, the more likely they are to reoffend. Research shows that spending more than 7 days in pretrial detention increases the probability of a new arrest, and a new arrest for a violent crime. One Kentucky study evaluating 150,000 defendants found that people held in jail for just 2 to 3 days after arrest were 39% more likely to be arrested on a new charge while the first charge was pending. 2 to 3 days. And that's in a criminal justice report. That is what informed our criminal justice reform in 2018. Second, the findings based on a year of study, of evidence and data, requiring cash bail before an initial court proceeding, which this bill does, can result in extended detention for those who simply can't afford it. We've talked about the criminalization of poverty. This bill would require incarceration for many offenses that once the person is fully vetted through due process, if they are convicted, they would not even receive incarceration for. We're asked to do this based on what? There is no evidence that expanding the application of past bail and substituting the judgment of lawmakers without informed evidence, without a thorough vetting, will make us safer. My colleagues, I could talk longer. I thank the Speaker for allowing me this time. I ask if you oppose Senate Bill 63 and work with us together to, in a bipartisan fashion, formulate evidence-based measures and procedures that will make us all safer. And lastly, what is most scary about this bill is the criminalization of churches, and religious institutions that have historically been on the front lines of social justice and civil rights justice for Black and brown people in this country. I do not believe that it is appropriate today or any day to tell parishioners and people of faith who pool their money together, who want to bail mothers out on Mother's Day, who want to bail fathers out on Father's Day, who want to bail children out on Christmas Eve, that this body believes that they should be charged as criminals unless they go through the process of becoming bail bondsmen. And if I were you, I would carefully look at that subsection, because who is not included in that are bail bondsmen. Excluded from that are bail bondsmen. Reread it. Why wouldn't a bail bondsman also not be allowed to bail out more than 3 people? If you look at the language, that's what we do as legislators. Perhaps this is a result of the hasty, private, not public committee conference procedure that yielded that bail fund provision. I submit to you, send back Senate Bill 63. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My time is up. I yield the well.
The lady has yielded the well. We've had representatives explain this from both the pro and the con side of the issue. On the adoption of the conference report on SB 63, all those in favor of the adoption of the conference committee report will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the adoption of the conference committee report, SB 63, the yeas are 95, the nays are 67, and the committee of conference report is adopted. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to HB 876?
House Bill 876 by Representative Williamson to the 112th and others to be entitled an act to amend Titles 7, 10, and 53 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to banking and finance, commerce and trade, wills and trusts, and administration of estates. This bill having referred to the Committee on Banks and Banking, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chairman Bruce Williams is recognized to present HB 876.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House of Representatives, I bring before you today the Department of Banking and Finance's annual housekeeping bill. You know, for the last 10 years, this body's passed legislation that's brought modernized Georgia's banking and financial services code to the point that we're the envy of the nation. And one good example of why we are is we've attracted so many financial technology companies specifically the Atlanta area. We're up to over 200 fintech companies, and that's not the only reason, this code's not the only reason they're here, but it's one of the big reasons they're here. So this bill, annual housekeeping bill, does impact banks, credit unions, merchant acquire, limited purpose banks, installment lenders, and residential mortgage lenders, but it's come with no opposition and the full support and approval of the Georgia Bankers Association, the Community Bankers Association, the League of Southeastern Credit Unions, Mortgage Bankers Association of Georgia, the Georgia Financial Services Association, and Georgia Installment Lenders Association. There's been no opposition on the measures that we have in this bill this year. So if there are no questions, I ask for your favorable consideration. And if there are no questions, Mr. Speaker, I'll yield the well.
You predicted the future. There are no questions. The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? We got you, Mr. Chairman. Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 876. The yeas are 164, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to HB 992, House Bill 992?
House Bill 992 by Representative Blackman of the 146th, ballot of the 147th, and others to be entitled an Act to amend Code Section 1562 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating the number of judges in superior courts, so to provide a 4th judge of the Superior Courts of the Houston Judicial Circuit. This bill having referred to the Committee on Judiciary, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Chairman Blackman to talk about the Houston County Superior Courts down there. The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Fellow colleagues, we bring before you House Bill 992, which provides for an additional judge in the Houston Circuit per the recommendation of the Judicial Council. It's actually rated the second highest workload by the Judicial Workload Assessment Committee. Be happy to try to answer any questions if there are any, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman from Houston County doesn't have any questions.
Well, thank you. I ask for your favorable consideration and yield the well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman has yielded well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? Take your time. Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 992. The yeas are 161, the nays are 0. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Members, we have a couple of more further actions today that we'll take up. Chair recognizes Representative Gamble for a motion. Representative Gamble.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I make a motion that we agree to the Senate substitute of House Bill 130.
Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption?
House Bill 130 by Representative Gamble of the 15th, Collins, the 71st, Hitchens, the 161st, to be entitled an Act to amend Part 3 of Article 7 of Chapter 3, Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the Georgia Student Finance Authority.
Representative Gamble is recognized to explain the Senate substitute to House Bill 130. Representative Gamble.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I have before you House Bill 130. Again, we voted on this last year, and this was one of the pieces of legislation that is a part of Governor Kemp's package that deals with service loan repayment for law enforcement officers. We did not get this through the Senate on the last day last year, so it's back for consideration now with one small change, and that is we have changed the date of eligibility to January 1 of 2024 as opposed to January 1 of 2023 because of the year delay in passing this bill. So that is the only change to this bill, and with that, Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to answer any questions.
You explained it very well. You don't have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask for your consideration, and I yield the will.
On the gentleman's motion that the House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 130, all those in favor will vote yes. Those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machines? Have all members voted? If so, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machines on the gentleman's motion that the House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 130? The yeas are 161, the nays are 0, and the House has agreed to the Senate substitute to House Bill 130. Now, on this next one, the House is being asked to agree to the Senate amendments. There's 2 of them to House Bill 318. Chair recognizes Representative Hilton for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to make a motion to agree to House Bill 318 as amended by the Senate.
Representative Hilton moves that the House agree to the Senate substitute to amend House Bill 318 with amendments. The clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 318 by Representative Hilton of the 48th and others being titled an act to amend Chapter 2, Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to elementary and secondary education so as to provide for the reestablishment as the Office of Charter School Compliance.
Representative Hilton is recognized to explain the Senate amendments. Representative Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 318, the underlying bill, passed this chamber with an overwhelming majority last session. It was received 2 amendments on the Senate side, one from Chairman Dixon, which was a bill sponsored here by Representative Fleming, which passed nearly unanimously, dealing with changing the verbiage to guaranteed energy savings performance contracts throughout code. The second amendment, sponsored by Senator Anna Vitarte, was Chairman Corbett's, dealing with school system eligibility for capital outlay grants and the timing of that and when folks would receive those. With that, Mr. Speaker, I will yield for questions.
You have no questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman has yielded the will. On the gentleman's motion that the House agree to the Senate amendments to House Bill 318, all those in favor will vote yes. Those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machines. All members voted. Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the gentleman's motion that the House agree to the Senate amendments to House Bill 318, the yeas are 147, the nays are 10, and the House has agreed to the Senate amendments to House Bill 318. Thank you, members of the House, for your attention to the issues we had before us. The clerk will read the caption to a group of privileged resolutions.
Honoring the life and memory of Randy K. Riggs. Honoring the life and memory of Sarah Lynn McFarland. Recognizing February as National Cancer Prevention Month and commending Dr. Jandria Jan Jackson. Recognizing February as National Cancer Prevention Month and commending Dr. Makita Rayton. Commending the Georgia Association of Realtors and recognizing February 8, 2024 as Realtors Day at the State Capitol. Commending and congratulating Frederick Allen Fred Harris. Recognizing and commending the Statewide Independent Living Council of Georgia, recognizing February 6, 2024 as Physical Therapy Day at the State Capitol. Recognizing and commending members of the Catoosa County Public Schools Superintendent Student Advisory Council. Recognizing and commending Family and Consumer Sciences. Congratulating the University of Georgia women's soccer team for an outstanding 2023 season. Recognizing and commending Pastor Dwight Boone and congratulating him on the occasion of his 17th pastoral anniversary. Commending Oni Presley, Columbia Elementary School's 2022-2023 Teacher of the Year. Recognizing and commending Delmar LaSalle Land on being named the Gilmer County Citizen of the Year. Recognizing and commending the National Conference of State Legislators on its 50th anniversary. Recognizing and commending Greystone Power Corporation for outstanding service to its members. Recognizing and celebrating Perimeter College at Georgia State University on the grand occasion of its 60th anniversary. Recognizing February 11th through 17th, 2024 as Future Business Leaders of America Week in Georgia. Recognizing March 7th, 2024 as National Vending Day at the State Capitol. Commending the restaurant industry of Georgia and recognizing February 21st, 2024 as State Restaurant Day at the State Capitol. Recognizing and commending Mr. Richard Snellings. Recognizing February 5th, 2024 as Black Business Expansion Day and for other purposes. That completes the reading of the privilege resolutions.
Is there any objection to adopting the privileged resolutions? Chair hears none. The resolutions are adopted. We're going to move on to afternoon order. Representative Kennard is recognized for an afternoon order. Let's see. I'm going to give y'all about 3 minutes. Can you get it done in 3 minutes, sir? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I've said before, I was raised in a classical Pentecostal church. I was raised in my grandfather's church, who was a Assembly of God pastor, pastored Stone Mountain Assembly of God. I was raised in that church till I was 16 years old. In our church, we observed a watch night service. This is a service where you go to church at the end of the day on December 31st, spend a couple hours, and you bring in the new year in the house of God. My grandfather always included foot washing in that watch night service. So towards the end of the night, towards midnight, men on one side, the women on another side, we washed feet. And as my grandfather said, we're washing out the old and we're washing in the new. This is a Black History moment because the origins of the watch night service starts with African Americans. In September of 1862, President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, but it wasn't enacted till January 1 of 1863. So African men and women who were enslaved were anticipating their freedom, so they went to their praise houses, their churches, wherever they could congregate, and spent the last few nights or the last few hours of the December 31st, and then they brought in the new year and their new freedom. It was also called Freedom's Eve. This is your moment in Black history. Thank you.
Representative Buckner is recognized for an afternoon order. Then Representative Angela Moore, you'll be next. You're on deck. That means you're the next speaker, the next hitter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think you may have noticed that today is Girl Scout Day at the Capitol. If not, I have serious concerns about your vision, your powers of observation, and other things. But what I wanted to say different is that in the state of Georgia, we have 41,000 girls involved in scouting. And we are excited that at least half of them were here today. What I also want to say is that many of the women in this chamber are Girl Scouts or were Girl Scouts, and the leadership skills that we learned are what they are continuing to teach the young girls across the state. And by doing that, someday, many of the 1,000 girls that have reached the level of Gold Scout, which is comparable to the Eagle Scout in the boys' Scout system. Look at them. Come forward if you're a Girl Scout. It's equal to the Eagle Scout. It involves the same kinds of goals and objectives, and it's very good at putting projects and programs together for sustainability in their community and unique programs. The final point I wanted to make is that if you didn't open your card and find it, I want to point out to you that they have issued an invitation to us to visit one of 3 camps that are situated across the state. And one of them is called Camp Misty Mountain. One of them is Camp Timber Ridge. And my favorite is Camp Meriwether, because it's in my district in Meriwether County. So take them up on that opportunity to go and visit and see the camps, see what they are doing in the way of training our girls so that they have great leadership skills to come up here and take our place one day. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Happy Girl Scout Day.
Excellent afternoon order. What a great organization the Girl Scouts are. I think they were founded down in a place on the coast, were they not? Savannah, Georgia, no doubt. Representative Angela Moore. Members, you need to give the representative your attention right now.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to make the announcement. I'm sure many of you all have heard that legendary singer, country singer, Toby Keith passed away yesterday. He had stomach cancer, and I think you all know how I feel about the cancer, the big C word. A lot of people didn't realize that Mr. Keith performed for Republican and Democratic presidents, and he was honored with the National Medal of Arts. I was so proud. He leaves behind a wife, 3 children, and 4 grandchildren. He may not have been a resident of Georgia, but he has certainly generated millions and millions of dollars into the state of Georgia. And he was smart enough, he was smart enough to have an entertainment publicist, me, right here in the state of Georgia. I'm really sad. And I wanted to just try to repeat one of my favorite lyrics from Toby. It's called I Want to Talk About Me. We talk about your friends and the places you've been. We talk about your skin and the devils on your chin, your polished toes and the runs in your hose, and God knows we're going to talk about your clothes. You know talking about you makes me smile. But occasionally, I want to talk about me. I want to talk about me. I want to talk about I want to talk about number 1. I want to talk about me. I want to talk about me. So Toby, today, in the House of Representatives in Georgia, we are talking about you, number one. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you, members. Prayers for his family. Toby Keith was a great talent. He will be missed. Representative Kendrick is recognized for an afternoon order. So give the lady in the well your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. Today, I rise to thank three groups of people. First, I want to thank the Biden administration. The second, Mr. Donald Cronin, who is our HR director here in the House, and for the constituents of the 95th House District. They have sent me back for 14 years. If you have student loans, you're going to want to hear this story. If you have student loans, you're going to want to hear this story. So in 2022, I was having a conversation with Mr. Cronin down at Biennial, and he said that we could get student loan forgiveness, and I did not realize as a legislator that I qualified. Long story short, we went back and forth with the Department of Education, filling out forms, and December of 2023, right when my pastor got down from preaching as pastor of the day, I received a notification that $180,000 of my student loans had been forgiven under the public student loan forgiveness program for the 4 degrees that I have. Statistically, we have about 3.7 million Americans that have about $136 billion in student loan debt that have been forgiven so far. And I do not want to be the only American. It is a burden on so many people that look like me, so many of our generation, and it is one of the biggest drivers of the wealth gap here in the state of Georgia and the nation. So if you have student loans and you have served longer than 10 years, I am willing to have that discussion with you and tell you my process for going through that, but you have to actually believe in student loan forgiveness. So for those of you that actually believe in student loan forgiveness, I am more than willing to help you, but if you do not, you probably do not want to come speak to me because I do not want to enable hypocrisy. So if you have student loan forgiveness and would like to speak with me about that process, I'm more than willing to help you with that. So thank you to the Biden administration, to my constituents, and to Mr. Donald Cronin, who is our HR director, and thank you for letting me share my story. I yield the wheel.
Chairman Wiedauer, you got a little scarf there. I like it. Chairman Wiedauer is recognized for
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
an afternoon order.
I rise today to celebrate another momentous step on the road to FIFA Cup 2026. In June of 2022, Atlanta, Georgia was selected among 16 other North American cities to be a host city for FIFA World Cup in 2026. And we've eagerly awaited the announcement of which matches we will host. Well, I'm excited to share with you this Sunday afternoon, FIFA announced that Atlanta will host 8 FIFA World Cup matches, including 5 group matches, a knockout round match, a round of 16, and the highly coveted semifinal match. Atlanta will host the second most matches out of all the 16 host cities. So what does that mean for Georgia and Georgians in 2026? With the first match set for June 15th and the semifinal match set for July 15th, you'll see the dates up on the board here. That length of the tournament, Atlanta will feel more like the '96 Olympics than a Final Four. Each match will have the feeling, the pageantry, and anticipation of a Super Bowl. And with 8 matches over a month of activity, the economic impact of hosting the FIFA World Cup is estimated to be between $450 and $500 million for the state of Georgia. That's over 96,000 hotel rooms in the metro Atlanta region that will be filled with national and international visitors. Restaurants, bars, stores, entertainment venues, and cities will see fans, visitors, media, and dignitaries from across the world. Fans and ticket holders will have an opportunity to experience world-class venue that is Mercedes-Benz Stadium and experience the southern hospitality Georgia and Georgians are known for. I'd like to also personally congratulate FIFA World Cup Host Committee led by Atlanta Sports Council and Dan Corso, the team at Metro Atlanta Chamber, Arthur M. Blank Sports and Entertainment, Atlanta Visitors and Convention Bureau, the World Congress Center, Authority, Governor Brian Kemp, Mayor Andre Dickens, and many, many others. Through a public-private partnership led a united bid for Atlanta. The World Cup Host Committee eagerly looks forward to hosting a first-class event for all Georgians, national and international visitors. As we sit here today, 2.5 years away from the opening of FIFA World Cup, the excitement and buzz for this event already is ringing through our halls, and I'm looking forward to it. Please join me in celebrating what is truly a win for Georgia this past Sunday as we prepare to host FIFA World Cup. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Chairman, that's a big deal. Soccer's a big deal all over our state, from the young to the older. I have a great soccer team down in Statesboro. Coach Darren Van Tassel has Tormenta USA, and they do a great job playing soccer. We have some announcements. Chairman Corbett is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, on your desk, a little piece of wood. Remember, wood is good. We've got a invitation for you for Forestry Day at the Capitol today, February the 6th. They'll be at the depot this afternoon from 5 till 7. Everybody come down and join us. And in the immortal words of our former colleague, Chad Nemery, if you like clean air, clean water, and soft toilet paper, come think of Forester.
Best forestry state in the country, right, Mr. Chairman? No doubt. Chairman Tarvin is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Insurance Committee, Subcommittee on Property and Casualty will meet upon adjournment 5:15 CLOB. 5:15 CLOB, we have 2 bills.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairlady Camp, recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Intergovernmental Coordination Committee will be meeting today at 4 p.m. in room 403. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairlady Cooper, recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Public Health Committee will meet as soon as we adjourn. We will meet in 606 LOB, the Public Health Committee, so please let's get over there. And we have a few bills, and I'll get you out as soon as possible. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield well.
Thank you, Chairlady. Chairman Dubnik, recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Alcohol and Tobacco Subcommittee of Regulated Industries will meet in 506 right now. There will be a cash prize for the first attendee.
I'm on the way. Chairlady Ballinger, y'all stay here. I'm headed over there. Chairlady Ballinger is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House Committee on Rules will be meeting tomorrow morning at 9 in room 341. There are several people who need to present their bills. So we look forward to seeing everybody there tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairlady. Chairman Chokus, recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to get here. Our normal time for small business development, we're not going to meet tomorrow at 8 a.m. We're going to meet tomorrow at 3 p.m., so I didn't want anybody to be in our normal room. Our Small Business Development Committee will meet tomorrow afternoon, 3 p.m. in Capitol 403. Just wanted to make sure everybody knew. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chairlady Camp, you're recognized to go back and get us straight. Chairlady Camp.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm sorry. Apparently, I need a snack. We are meeting in room 341. I believe I said the wrong room number earlier. So 4 p.m. Intergovernmental Coordination, room 341. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you said 341. I didn't know you could ever make a mistake. Representative Anderson is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Governmental Affairs Subcommittee on State and Local Government will meet upon adjournment in 4:15, and then the Subcommittee on Elections will meet immediately following that meeting in room CLOB 415. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Chairman Lumsden, recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Full House Insurance Committee will meet in the morning, 8 a.m., CLOB 406. Thank you.
Representative Trey Kelly is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications Committee will meet 10 minutes upon adjournment in Capitol 403. Look forward to seeing the committee members and anybody else who just wants to see the fun we have. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We have one more announcement. I would like to make an announcement. I want to thank you all that attended the Effingham event last night. I got to speak to many of you. We appreciate the local folks. Appreciated y'all being there. Chairman Hitchens and I both appreciate that. So thank y'all for coming and joining us. It's important that we show up when local folks come up. They appreciate it. So y'all know you're appreciated. That concludes our announcements. We have a birthday, and I think he left a little early to go celebrate his 39th birthday for the, I don't know how many times, but anyway. Representative Ken Vance has a birthday today, so we will wish him happy birthday and do it personally tomorrow on his birthday, a little belated. We have pages today. Members, if you have pages, join us up front for a photo. So thank you for your attention today. The House Majority Leader is recognized at this time for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that this House stand adjourned until 10 a.m. on Wednesday, February 7th, 2024.
We have a riveting presentation tomorrow. The state of the judiciary is tomorrow. Is that not right, Mr. Leader? Yes. It's all, I mean, it's pretty good. So, judiciary. And I think Chairman Hatchett, do you have the budget on the floor tomorrow? We have some important issues to take up tomorrow, so I encourage all of y'all to be here on time. On the motion of the Majority Leader, this House stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Wednesday, February the 7th, 2024. All those in favor will say aye. All those opposed will say no. Oh, the ayes clearly have it. We won. We're adjourned.